In today's video, we're going to be talking about more Duskmourn spoilers as they continue to be released, and there are a lot today with some pretty big ones, so let's not waste any time and jump into the video. Everybody, thank you so much for being here. I do appreciate each and every one of you guys taking the time to watch the videos. Be sure to hit the like button if you do enjoy the content. Subscribe to the channel so you'll be notified when new videos are posted. And click that bell icon if you do want to be notified with alerts whenever new videos come up, which can be helpful during spoiler season, of course. Now, I did make a video that you guys might have seen covering the spoilers from Saturday. There were very few yesterday when this was initially started, so I kind of waited to just get a little bit more content to cover, but here we are. There are so many cool things to talk about in this set, and I'm going to cover a lot of the reveals. I will say there are some that came out probably midday today as I'm recording this that are not going to be part of this video. They will either be part of tomorrow's video or there'll be a second video later today depending on how the day goes, just because I don't want the video to be too long, but I also want to be able to give appropriate time to cards that warrant it. So, Clockwork Percussionist is just where we're going to start off here. It's a 1-drop red artifact creature. It's a monkey toy. That artwork is so cursed. And it has haste, and when it dies, exile the top card of your library. You may play it until the end of your next turn. Overall, a pretty good card. I think for Standard specifically, this is going to be really solid in mono red. Being able to replace something later is definitely never bad, especially when you have a color like red that does kind of struggle with draw power that actually gives you any kind of advantage. You know, with the exception of a select few cards that are pretty expensive and or not legal in that format. But overall, a pretty solid common, I think. That and Heartfire Hero from Bloomborough definitely have been two really good cards for red in general. So just a kind of a little fun place to start. Nico, the Light of Hope, and I apologize because I'm using Magic Spoiler for some of these that have not been posted on Scryfall yet, and so the quality of the images are not as good as they will be with Scryfall's renders, but that's just kind of the nature of it when it comes to covering cards just as they come out. But this is 2 white-blue legendary human wizard. When it enters, create 2 shard tokens. Those are enchantments with pay 2, sacrifice, scry 1, then draw a card. So like a strictly better clue token, I'm pretty sure. You can pay 2 and tap exile target non-legendary creature you control. Shards you control become copies of it until the beginning of the next end step. Return it to the battlefield under its owner's control at the beginning of the next end step. A very good card with some really cool, almost abstract alternate artwork here. I think shards are new. I could be wrong, but I'm not seeing other cards exist that create shards, so I'm sorry if I'm wrong, but I'm fairly certain they're new and they seem pretty cool. Hopefully there's more of them in the set. Obviously, with the amount of enchantment support we're seeing in this set, I think a lot of decks across Commander and other formats are going to be significantly boosted, but obviously this card feels like it'll be a very fun Commander to build around, and it even works with the Azorius, strategy of blinking things to bring them back and get some additional triggers too. All across the board, just a really cool card. I don't know what its standard application will be. It's low cost enough that I think it could see some play there. We'll have to see what people come up with, though, in terms of standard. I definitely, like I said, can see it shining, though, as a commander. Say Its Name is 1 and a green sorcery. Mill 3 cards, then you may return a creature or land from your graveyard to your hand. Exile this card and 2 other cards named Say Its Name from your graveyard. Search your graveyard, hand, and or library for a card called Altenac the Thrice Called and put it onto the battlefield. If you search your library this way, shuffle, activate only as a sorcery. So, obvious Beetlejuice reference as well as other horror movies. Say Its Name 3 times. I love the flavor they've worked into the set, without a doubt. Pretty solid card, being able to get a creature and stuff back, but really what you're looking at this for is going to be for Altenac. And Altenac the Thrice Called is a solid card. It is 5 and 2 green legendary creature, insect beast with trample. When it becomes the target of a spell or ability on opponent controls, draw a card. You can pay 1 and a green and discard it to return a land from your graveyard to the battlefield tapped. So overall, a pretty cool card. It is a 9/9, so it's definitely pretty powerful. It doesn't, it's an uncommon, and I think that's solely because it doesn't have any game-breaking effects, and it does cost quite a bit to bring out. However, if you can find ways to utilize Say Its Name to cheat it out without having to worry about that, you definitely could get a powerful creature out on the board without too much investment, and obviously, Altenac being able to discard himself to get lands back can certainly set up some additional ramping. It's a pretty neat card, and it's a fun concept. It's not anything game-breaking necessarily, but it's still cool to see them trying some things that are a little bit different. Leyline of Resonance, a brand new leyline for red. It costs 2 and 2 red, although ideally you're opening it so you can begin the game with it on the battlefield. Whenever you cast an instant or sorcery spell that targets only a single creature you control, copy that spell. You may choose new targets for that copy. So Zada's definitely a card that comes to mind as something that can utilize this quite well. But in general, being able to basically cast free versions of any of your instant or sorceries is nothing to sneeze at. It's a pretty cool card overall, and I think just a solid leyline. It's, in my opinion anyway, better than Leyline of Lightning for red, which, of course was reprinted in Wildspell Drain. But not a bad card as a whole. It's pretty solid. Leyline of the Void is just a reprint, but it is going to be standard legal again. Not a terrible card, obviously. It seems like people are clamoring for a new black Leyline because it's been a while since one has come out. We don't have that yet, but we do have this getting a reprint in standard, and so certainly, it's a good card. It's being able to exile stuff from anywhere is definitely annoying for the opponent, especially if they're playing a graveyard-focused strategy or things that need to hit the graveyard in order to trigger. Like Meathook Massacre 2, which, if you guys remember, the first Meathook Massacre was banned eventually in Standard because it's just way too powerful. They definitely toned it down a little bit on this, although they made it do a lot more. So it costs 4 black and 2 X. Obviously, X is going to be 2 instances you have to pay for. When it enters, each player sacrifices X creatures. So basically, you pay 6 for this. Each player sacrifices 1 creature. Definitely a bit more steep of a cost in terms of removal versus its predecessor, but I do think this card's actually really solid because it does have these other additional effects. Whenever a creature you control dies, you may pay 3 life. If you do, return it to the under your control with a finality counter on it. If a creature an opponent controls dies, they may pay 3 life. If they don't, return that card under your control with a finality counter on it. This is essentially, if you take the first line out of it, which is not a bad effect, it's just a little costly, it's still a 4-drop that can give you, whenever your creatures die, you can pay life to get them back. And I know in a 20 life format, it's not super easy to have the life to do that all the time, but first of all, in Commander, that's not nearly as big of an ask. Second of all, at worst, you're pinging the opponent for 3 life where they're giving you things. This is a really cool card and a really solid design, in my opinion. I don't think it's anywhere near the level of the original Meathook Massacre in terms of like how it actually broke the game, but it is a really powerful card. It's cool. It's someone said, a fun sequel doesn't live up to the original. I think that's fair, but I think it's definitely not. Don't sleep on this card, because this card does have a lot of potential, I think, just maybe in a little bit of a different way of how the original was used. Turn Inside Out is 1 red, another just some absolutely cursed, fantastic artwork here. Target creature gets +3/+0 until end of turn. When it dies, manifest dread. So look at the top 2, put 1 face down, and then put the other into the grave. Pretty cool to see manifest coming back. This is just solid. +3 is really solid. Mono Red's going to have a field day with this. Being able to swing with cards like Slickshot, Show Off, Heartfire Hero, things like that, just buffing them up even more. And like I said, with that new leyline, you can copy too. So there's just a lot of things going on. Red is getting some seriously powerful upgrades in this set. Undead Sprinter is a black-red Rakdos creature zombie with trample and haste. You can cast it from your graveyard if a non-zombie creature died this turn. If you do that, it enters with a +1/+1 counter. Not a hard condition to fulfill, trample and haste, and it's pretty solid that you can essentially bring this back very, very easily as a 3/3 haste. In a format where 20 life is, that this is going to chip away almost, I can't do the math, like 12-13% each time. Just a really solid card. I think it's going to be a good card for drafting for sure, but it does feel like it's solid enough that Rakdos might look to it in actual constructed play as well. Infernal Phantom is 3 and a red creature spirit with Eerie. It says whenever an enchantment you control enters and wherever you fully unlock a room, Infernal Phantom gets +2/+0 till end of turn. When it dies, deal damage equal to its power to any target. Pretty easy to buff that up. It costs a lot more than Heartfire Hero, but similar line of thinking. I don't know if Mono Red's necessarily going to be able to make use of this in that same vein, but it's certainly a cool card. I don't think we talked too much about the rooms in the previous video because there had only been 1 leak, so we'll touch on them now with this one. So if I did kind of not give a lot of detail on this here, the rooms are a new type of enchantment that have 2 separate sides, but unlike dual-sided, not like the 2-sided cards, that there's a lot of different variants of them. These, you can cast either half, it comes on the battlefield, and the door unlocks. When a door unlocks, you're able to gain that effect of that enchantment. However, you have to pay the mana cost of the other side at another time or whenever to unlock that door. So this one says when you unlock this door, create a token that's a copy of target creature you control, except it's a reflection, in addition to its other types. The other side says if the triggered ability of a permanent you control triggers, it triggers an additional time. Extremely powerful, like an upgraded version of Panharmonicon, and obviously it costs more, but there are some ways to reduce cost of enchantments and things of that nature to bring it out. One of the interesting things about rooms, and I think as we get more, they'll be providing some more rules clarification. But with the rooms, the thing that's kind of really noteworthy here is that if you bring this back or cheat this out without paying its mana cost, it doesn't automatically gain those effects on the field. The rooms are still considered locked. You still have to pay the mana cost to unlock them and gain their effects. And so that's going to be very interesting from, you know, a rules perspective. And I'm sure that there'll be some more coming out on rooms. And there might even be some stuff. I'll maybe make a follow-up video talking about just room cards, so that people can get a bit more clarity on that if that would help. Neglected Manor is part of a 10 land cycle of lands. I'm not going to show all 10 here. They are all exactly the same. There's one for every color combination. It enters tapped unless a player has 13 or less life. Obviously solid color fixing for drafting. It's, you know, Friday the 13th, 13 horror movie number. I see what they're doing. It's cool. You know, I think they might have been stronger if they were typed. So if this was like a plain swamp, you know, it's still most likely going to enter tapped in a lot of cases, but you would have had a candidate similar to the Surveil lands that's actually going to come out and be, you know, something that you could potentially bring out untapped. I don't know. Maybe that's just me, though. Not every set of lands is going to be really good. That's just kind of the way it goes. It's Smoky Lounge. Wow, that was awful. Smoky Lounge and Misty Salon. Another enchantment room. The left side says, at the beginning of your first main phase, add 2 red. Spend this mana only to cast room spells and unlock doors. And then the right side is 3 and a blue. When you unlock this door, create an XX blue spirit creature token with flying, where X is the number of unlocked doors among rooms you control. So it's going to be a little bit of verbiage to get used to there, but I don't think it's super complicated. It does seem like a solid card, though. Locking you into being able to use that stuff for rooms isn't bad, but you do have the ability to then cast the other side of this a lot easier if it lasts around to another turn. But there is a reason it's an uncommon, and that's because it's not super powerful even with the new room mechanic. Patched Plaything, just another absolutely cursed artwork here. 2 and a white artifact creature toy with double strike. It enters with 2 -1/-1 counters on it if you cast it from your hand, so it would come out as a 2/1. Obviously, but having double strike on a body is strong as well. This card screams really good draft like card right off the bat, and overall just a solid uncommon. I don't know how else you're gonna bring it out in a way that would be worth it, because it doesn't have a ton else going for it, but it is an artifact. It's a toy. Maybe there's some cards that are going to work with toys. That I'm not sure. We'll have to keep an eye out. Enduring Curiosity is another one of the glimmers. I just gotta say again, the artwork on these is insane. We'll just take a quick peek at the other arts in case you guys want to see them. The Japanese fractured foil ones are just absolutely gorgeous. This card is 2 and 2 blue. Flash. Whenever a creature you control deals combat damage to a player, draw a card. When it dies, if it was a creature, return it to the battlefield under its owner's control. It's an enchantment. So it's quite literally like Reconnaissance Mission or, you know, Curiosity even, but that's obviously a different cost. But I mean, being able to bring this out, draw whenever the damage goes through, so it's not like draw 1 total, it's 1 for each card. Pretty good overall, and if they do get rid of it, you can bring it back. It's just across the board, just a solid card. You know, it gives blue another option, but I think being an enchantment and obviously being a creature initially with flash does give you some better control over when you're bringing this out to ensure you can get maximum usage off of its effect. Zimone All Questioning is a legendary creature human wizard. At the beginning of your end step, if a land entered the battlefield under your control this turn and you control a prime number of lands, create Primo the Indivisible, a legendary 0/0 green-blue fractal creature token, and put that many +1/+1 counters on it. It lists all the prime numbers. A little tricky to keep track of. It's kind of wonky. Like, I mean, not you can obviously look at it. So if you have 2 lands, 3 lands, 5 lands, 7, etc., I get kind of what's going on there. But obviously, like, because it's a legendary token, it's not like you can go 2 and then 3. You'd have to get rid of 1. It's okay. I don't know. It doesn't seem anything crazy to me. I'd call it relatively underwhelming. And, you know, there is a sort of... There's a lot of prime numbers. There's a full list you can see. That's a lot of extra stuff to keep track of for a card that doesn't really do a ton. But obviously, if somehow you get crazy amounts of lands, and you can then make some kind of super powerful token. I don't know. Someone out there is going to find a way to break that, I'm sure. So, and then we've got Winter Misanthropic Guide. It is 1 black, red, green, legendary human warlock with ward 2. At the beginning of your upkeep, each player draws 2 cards. It has Delirium. As long as there are 4 or more card types among cards in your graveyard, each opponent's hand size is equal to 7 minus the number of those card types. Pretty cool. Not a bad card per se, but you are giving your opponent resources in order to set that up, and they're still going to get a chance to go and maybe utilize that stuff before it comes back around to them. So hard to say whether or not this one is like worth a recommend, but it's cool nonetheless. And obviously there are so many different, I mean, that's sort of the beauty of Commander in general, like the ability to build different things and try different strategies, make them work. So, you know, just another one to kind of notch off there, but it's not bad. I think as a whole, this set is shaping up to be really cool. Seems like a lot of people had similar comments. There were some people who were a little underwhelmed by them so far, and that's okay. I mean, it's everybody's right. Everybody can have their own opinions. I do think the set is really, really fun, and I'm excited to see what continues to come out, because I know the special guest leak started, so we'll do a video talking about the special guests and everything. But yeah, I mean, more content to come. Let me know what you guys think of the second Slater reveals for this set, and I'll catch you in the next video. Peace.